Hello, great people. Tigran Gambaryan, one of the executive of Binance, the cryptocurrency firm that was arrested in Nigeria, and after the intervention of the US government, he was released from prison, has been making some staggering revelation. He has accused 3 House of Representative members of asking for a bribe of 150 million US dollars. He has also accused the federal government of Nigeria of trying to access the data illegitimately for the purpose of witch hunting the opposition. He has accused the DSS. He has accused the National Security Advisor, Ribadu. He made a lot of staggering revelation that I'll be reading to you in a moment. Then we'll be analyzing the associated issues in between. What is happening in governance in Nigeria? What are the flaws in governance? What is the issues that we can pinpoint out of it, and what are the lessons to learn therein? We'll be analyzing all these associated issues on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omosholadeji. You will recall that Tigran Gambaryan was arrested alongside his fellow executive Nadeem Anjarwalla. Now, Nadeem Anjarwalla, when he was arrested, by miraculous means got escaped from prison. And you might be wondering as well, that was this guy released, or were there some games that were played that led to his escape? But the report that we heard was that Nadeem Anjarwalla escaped from prison. Nadeem Anjarwalla is 37 years old. Now, it was after that that the US government, during the administration of Joe Biden, now began to interface with the Nigerian government, and they were able to use diplomatic means to secure the release of Tigran Gambaryan. It is the Tigran Gambaryan that the Nigerian government released based on the intervention of the US government that is now making this staggering revelation. Now, let us go into what Tigran Gambaryan said. Now, you can see it on your screen. It says some unknown facts. You can read the rest in the Wired article and the NPR story. This is where it gets interesting. It says the DSS was involved in the House of Representatives matter. I'm reading Tigran Gambaryan. We met with them at their office on Friday, January 5, 2024, as a prerequisite to our meeting with the House of Representatives. They alluded to the fact that we had to comply. Listen to that. They alluded to the fact that we had to comply with whatever the House members instructed us to do. Now, after reading this first paragraph, let me point out something from it before I go to the second paragraph. Now, it said they alluded to the fact that we had to comply with whatever the House members instructed us to do. Yes, if the House of Representatives summons you and they are conducting an investigation, whatever they ask you to do that can help the cause of investigation to unravel the mystery behind what is being investigated to the benefit of Nigerian people must be complied with. So it is on legitimate grounds, not that they will ask you to go and pay $150 million, then you go and pay it. No. So the DSS, I think, should have passed the message rightly that you are to do whatever they ask you to do, as lawyers will say, within the ambit of the law. So I think that within the ambit of the law that is missing, I've left it blank in such a way that if the House of Representative member tell you to go and jump into the well, will you go and jump into the well just because they ask you to go and jump into the well? So I think the caveat should have been put that within the ambit of the law. Now, let us go to the next paragraph, which is where it is getting interesting. Remember, the Binance executive Tigran Gambaryan implicated Nigerian government, the DSS, National Security Advisor, Ribadu, and 3 House of Representative member. Follow me in this reading. Now, paragraph 2. At the House meeting, there were 3 members present. 2 of them were Peter Akpanke and Philip Agbese, both working under the leadership of Ginger Obinna Onwusibe. There was a 3 House member, but there was a 3rd House member, apologies, but I don't recall his name. They set up fake cameras and media to make the meeting appear official, but the cameras weren't even plugged in. As you may already know, this ended with them asking for a $150 million bribe paid in cryptocurrency into their personal wallet, a Mickey Mouse operation at its best. Now, let us point out some things from this particular paragraph, which is that if you look at it, you will see that the Binance executive Tigran Gambaryan said that They requested for $150 million bribe. But then the Nigerian government arrested Tigran Gambaryan and Nadeem Anjarwalla and were prosecuting them for money laundering amounting to 35 million US dollars. So if you are being prosecuted, if you are being investigated for a financial crime of about 35 million US dollars, how will the people investigating you, how will the parastatal agencies of government now be demanding for 150 million US dollars? We need to identify that, in the sense that they're investigating you for 35 million US dollars, but now you are saying that it is that they're asking you for a $150 million bribe. That sounds a bit absurd in the true sense of it. Now, Tigran Gambaryan said they set up fake cameras and media to make the meeting appear official. While they were investigating the Binance executive, did Tigran Gambaryan go to each camera to see whether it was plugged or not? How did he know that the cameras were not plugged? How was he able to identify? Because you are coming in for a probe, and when you get to the meeting, were you investigating the cameras to make sure that they were not plugged? So those are some of the loopholes that I'm able to identify in Tigran Gambaryan's statement. And if you look at it, he said the set of fake and the cameras were not even plugged in. So if you look at all these things, I'm not saying that the House member did not ask for any kind of kickbacks. We are all Nigerians. We know the way some of these things works. Now, assuming but not considering that they asked for kickbacks, could it have been to the tune of $150 million when what they are investigating you for is $35 million? Now to Ribadu. The paragraph about Ribadu said, at Ribadu invited us to the official meeting and walked through Saad Abubakar. Another key figure in this situation was Adama Beloji. Adama Beloji. Ogunjobi was just a pawn. They used him too. This was a sold. I think there's some error in his writing. Let me just say this was sold as a friendly meeting with the NSA, the head of SEC, that's Security Exchange Commissions, and the CBN governor, and included the discussion of the bribe that was solicited by the House of Representatives. So that means that the Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, was also aware that the House of Representative members allegedly solicited bribe. Now, let's continue. This is where it gets interesting. The $26 billion figure they kept pushing publicly as some mystery money escaping Nigeria is complete BS. That's bullshit. So, wait, there's something conflicting about these things, which is that they said they're investigating him for 35 million US dollars. But then there's another 26 billion US dollars, which is, I think, the whole of transaction that Binance has done while they were in Nigeria is the 26 billion US dollar. But you want to imagine, there are other cryptocurrency firms in Nigeria. There are other financial institutions in Nigeria. So if Binance alone could have done a transaction amounting to 26 billion US dollars, what transaction is remaining for GTB, Access Bank, UBA, and other financial institutions in Nigeria? Now, let's continue reading. This information was provided in response to their request and was simply cumulative trade data for Nigerians on the platform. This money didn't leave Nigeria. It was just people buying and selling crypto. You see, now I didn't read it to this level before I assert that perhaps it is the money of all the transactions that have been made when they were investigated that amounts to 26 billion US dollar. But government was investigating Binance, which involving Tigran Gambaryan and Nadeem Anjarwalla for a fraud of 35 million US dollars. Now I think it seems clear. It says this money did not leave Nigeria. It was just people buying and selling crypto. For example, if you trade $100 100 times, that's $10,000 in trade volume. But in reality, you only used $100. Again, just another example of them lying up to cover their BS investigation. That's bullshit investigation. Now, they lied that Nadeem, that's another paragraph, escaped during mock prayers. In reality, he returned and escaped afterward. I don't know exactly how he managed to flee. He emailed me in November, but we haven't discussed the details of his escape. It's possible he paid someone off, but I have no proof. So okay, let me finish the paragraph first. If Beloji had simply checked his passport for a visa, you would have realized that Nadeem did not use that passport to travel to Nigeria. Now, imagine that a foreigner is asserting that somebody escaped Nigeria and may have bribed one or two people. You see that this fallbacks to my earlier assertion that the guy miraculously, in quote, disappeared from Nigeria. Now, another paragraph, they sent a letter to the US Embassy and the British High Commission falsely claiming that we were voluntarily participating in strategic talks. That was a blatant lie. Sometimes it feels bad when you are reading the account of a foreigner and that foreigner is saying that your government is doing what? Blatantly lying. That is one of the highest ridicule that can befall a government. Now, let's continue reading. Nadeem didn't escape lawful detention. We were being held illegally. Beloji even admitted that he would fabricate evidence to obtain a court order to detain us for 14 days. Once the court order expired, they were unable to get an extension from the judge. At that point, they continued holding us illegally and had no justification for doing so. Let me say something about this paragraph. If they are holding you illegally, that is not a condition for you to escape. Then you need to approach the court to get an order of court ordering your release from detention, having justified to the court that they were holding you illegally. Just to point that out. Now, let's go to another paragraph. We still have just 2 paragraphs to go. I'm trying to make this video as short as possible, but this reading, is quite a long reading. Please bear with me. Now, it says, there was a lot of noise using Interpol to capture Nadeem. As someone who has been involved in multiple extradition cases, I can confidently say that this was a joke. Extradition is a lengthy legal process, and no rational judge in Kenya or wherever would ever approve extradition for someone who escaped illegal detention at the hands of rogue law enforcement, especially when that detention involved holding employees hostage to pressure their employer. All noise. Now, look at something. It says, he made a statement, a rogue law enforcement. That is another insult, that if a foreigner is giving account of what happened in Nigeria and that foreigner is calling our law enforcement rogue, that is another insult and a slap on Nigeria. So if you look at these things, the guy was just throwing shades at Nigeria. And that is why you may want to think that is the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu hasty in releasing this guy after all, because now he fires a shot at the Nigerian government, which is the last paragraph. They try to use us to violate international privacy law by demanding user data on all Nigerians to target opposition members, allegedly manipulating the price of the naira. However, they all knew that naira's devaluation was a direct result of Tinubu's monetary policy, which depegged the naira from the dollar. I'm not saying this policy decision was wrong, but everyone understood that removing government intervention would lead to extreme devaluation. Instead of acknowledging this, they use Binance as a scapegoat. Now, the guy is, roping in the Nigerian government that it is your policy that devalued the naira. But then, as you did to Aboki FX, now you are pushing it to us rather than acknowledging that your policies were wrong. Now, what I get to see in all of this is that it is sad that in a country like Nigeria, there will be a public investigation, and after that public investigation, there will be allegations of corruption flying all over the place. That is very, very sad. And to now imagine that this Agbese, the Philip Agbese, one of the person being accused, doubles as the deputy spokesperson of the house. The deputy spokesperson of the house accused of corruption. That in itself is very, very sad. And do you now imagine why people want to kill themselves to be in public office? Imagine that if Tigran Gambaryan is not a foreigner, if he's a Nigerian, and the investigation as it was being done, he decided to bribe. Imagine that 150 million US dollars, if it had been paid, amounts to over 232 billion naira. So if you serve as a member of the House of Representatives and you can get those deals, just two, You can get those deals just twice or thrice. You are already made. And that's why everybody wants to become an honorable, a minister, or somebody occupying an important public office. The time for us to begin to act right is now. The time for us to begin to get our priorities right is now. The time for us to begin to fight corruption in the true sense of it is now. If we want a nation that we can be proud of, and not only us, but our children unborn. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politics with Dr. Omoshola. Do want to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course I have great interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, I love you all sincerely.